close your eyes for a moment. Feel the weight of the air around you, the gentle pressure of the earth beneath your feet. Not the frantic weight of deadlines or the sharp sting of worry. This is the weight of simply being. Now imagine a question that has hummed through every human heart since time began. A question whispered in the quietest corners of the mind. A question that holds no fear, only a deep, quiet knowing. What happens when the breath stops? When the heart stills? When the light within the body fades to the same stillness as the night sky? We build cities. We write songs. We chase dreams, all while carrying this silent question in the very core of our existence. It is not a question of fear, but of understanding. It is the question that sits beside us as we watch the sunset, as we hold a child, as we stand alone in a quiet room. It is the question that asks not for an answer, but for a different way of seeing. This is the question we will hold gently together as we step beyond the simple line between life and death and into the quiet space where they meet. Picture a forest at the very edge of twilight. The sun has dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a soft, lingering glow that paints the trees in shades of lavender and deep blue. The air is cool and still, carrying the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. A single path winds through the moss-covered stones, leading deeper into the quiet. There is no sound but the distant hush of the wind moving through the highest branches, a sound like a slow, deep breath. You walk slowly, each step sinking gently into the soft ground. The trees stand tall and ancient, their bark rough under your fingertips, their roots spreading deep into the dark soil. You notice a small, smooth stone half buried near the path, cool and heavy in your hand. You pause, looking up. The first stars begin to appear, faint and clear, like tiny points of light in a vast, dark velvet. You feel no urgency, no need to hurry. You are simply here, in this space between day and night, between the known and the unknown. You feel the weight of the earth, the quiet presence of the trees, the slow rhythm of your own breath. You are not thinking about tomorrow, or yesterday, or the things you must do. You are only here, in this moment, feeling the deep calm of the forest as it settles around you. The question you carry, the question about what comes after, feels less like a heavy stone and more like a gentle whisper on the breeze. It is not a question that demands an answer, but one that invites you to listen, to feel, to simply be present with the quiet mystery of existence. Her name was Ilara, and she tended a small garden on the edge of the forest. It was not a grand garden, but a quiet place where life bloomed in simple, patient ways. She planted seeds in the soft, dark earth each spring, her hands moving with a quiet certainty. She watered the young shoots with a slow, deliberate care, her eyes watching for the first fragile green leaves to push through the soil. She knew the garden was not hers to own, but a place where life was happening, a place she was simply invited to nurture. She would sit for hours on a worn wooden bench, watching the bees move from flower to flower, the butterflies dance on the warm air. She would feel the sun on her face, the cool shade of the old oak tree, the gentle hum of insects in the grass. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft oranges, she sat by the garden gate. She held a small, smooth stone, the same kind she had found on the forest path. She traced its cool surface with her thumb, feeling the tiny imperfections, the way it fit perfectly in her palm. She looked out at the garden, at the rows of vegetables, the clusters of flowers, the quiet space where the wild things grew. She thought of her father, who had tended this garden before her, who had taught her to listen to the earth, to feel the seasons in the soil. He had died the previous autumn, his breath slowing as the leaves fell from the trees. She remembered the quiet moments with him in the garden, the way he would point out a new sprout, the way he would say, "It is not the ending that matters, but the way it fits into the whole." She had not understood then, not truly. Now, sitting in the quiet evening, the weight of his absence was not a sharp pain, but a deep, soft space within her. She felt the garden breathe around her, the earth holding all the life that had come and gone. She felt the cool stone in her hand, the same stone she had found on the forest path. She thought of the leaves that fell each autumn, the way they became part of the soil, feeding the roots of the trees. She thought of the seeds she planted each spring, knowing they would grow, knowing they would one day return to the earth. She thought of her father, not as gone, but as having become part of the quiet rhythm of the garden, part of the deep, slow breath of the earth. The question about what comes after was no longer a sharp edge cutting through her heart. It was a gentle current, like the slow movement of the river she sometimes walked beside. She felt the garden, the forest, the earth, the quiet stars above, all holding the same quiet breath. She was not alone in the question. She was part of the question, part of the quiet, endless rhythm. The garden was not just a place of growing, it was a place of remembering. A place where life and the quiet space after it were held together, not separated. She sat with the stone, feeling the cool weight, feeling the deep calm of the forest settling around her, feeling the quiet understanding that life and death were not two separate things, but two parts of the same slow, deep breath. The forest held many secrets, not written in words, but in the slow movement of the seasons. Ilara learned to listen to the language of the trees, The way the leaves turned color in the fall, the way the branches reached towards the sky in the spring. She learned to feel the deep rhythm of the earth, the way it breathed with the seasons, the way it held all the life that came and went. She would walk the forest path every evening, long after the sun had set, when the air was cool and the stars were bright. She would walk slowly, her feet making soft sounds on the mossy ground. She would watch the fireflies begin to dance, tiny points of light moving in the quiet darkness. She would feel the cool air on her skin, the scent of pine and damp earth filling her lungs. She would think of the forest as a living thing, a vast, slow-breathing being. The trees were not just trees, they were part of a great, quiet breath, a rhythm that had been happening long before she was born and would continue long after she was gone. She thought of the trees that had fallen years ago, their wood slowly becoming part of the soil, feeding the new growth. She thought of the seeds that had fallen, the ones that had taken root, the ones that had been carried by the wind. She thought of the animals that moved through the forest, the deer that drank from the stream, the birds that nested in the branches. She thought of the quiet moments of stillness, the way the forest held its breath in the deep of night. She realized that death was not a sudden stop, but a quiet transition, like the falling of a leaf, like the turning of a season. It was not an end, but a part of the slow, deep rhythm of the earth. She began to see the garden not as a place of life only, but as a place where life and the quiet space after it were held together. The vegetables she grew would be eaten, their life returning to the earth. The flowers would fade, their petals falling to the ground, becoming part of the soil. The seeds she planted would grow, and when they died, they would feed the next generation. It was not a cycle of loss, but a cycle of return, a slow, gentle breathing. She thought of her father again, not as gone, but as having become part of the quiet rhythm of the garden, part of the deep, slow breath of the earth. She felt the weight of the stone in her hand, the cool smoothness, the quiet presence. She realized that the question about what comes after was not a question that needed an answer, but a question that needed to be held gently, like the stone. It was not a question that divided life from death, but a question that showed how they were woven together, like the roots of the trees, deep in the soil. She thought of the stars above the forest, so many, so far away, their light traveling for years to reach her eyes. She thought of the quiet space between the stars, the vast, dark emptiness that held them all. She realized that this quiet space was not empty, but full of the slow, deep rhythm of the universe. It was not a void, but a quiet breath, a space where life and death were held together, not separated. She felt the forest breathing around her, the slow, deep rhythm of the earth. She felt the cool air, the scent of pine, the soft sound of the wind in the branches. She felt the quiet understanding that life and death were not two separate things, but two parts of the same slow, deep breath. She felt the garden, the forest, the earth, the quiet stars above, all breathing together, all part of the same quiet rhythm. She felt the stone in her hand, cool and heavy, a small part of the great, slow breath of the earth. She realized that the question was not about an ending, but about a beginning, a different way of seeing the quiet rhythm of the universe. She realized that the quiet space after death was not empty, but full of the same quiet rhythm, the same slow, deep breath that held the garden, the forest, the stars. She felt the deep calm of the forest settling around her, not as a place of stillness, but as a place of quiet, endless movement. She felt the quiet understanding that she was part of the rhythm, part of the slow, deep breath of the earth. She was not separate from the garden, or the forest, or the stars. She was part of the quiet rhythm, part of the slow, deep breath that held all things together. She sat on the bench, the stone cool in her hand, the forest breathing around her, the stars above, the quiet rhythm of the universe holding her gently in its deep, slow breath. We build our lives around the idea of a clear line between life and death. We think of life as the time when we are awake, when we feel the warmth of the sun, when we hear the laughter of others. We think of death as the time when the warmth fades, when the laughter falls silent, when the light within the body goes out. We think of it as a sudden end, a sharp line drawn across the page of existence. But what if the line is not there? What if the line is only a way we see it, a way we have been taught to see it, a way that helps us feel safe in the world? What if life and death are not two separate things, but two parts of the same slow, deep breath? The forest does not think of the falling leaf as an end. It thinks of the leaf as part of the slow, deep rhythm of the earth. The leaf falls. It becomes part of the soil. It feeds the roots of the tree. The leaf does not cease to be. It changes. It becomes part of something larger. The garden does not think of the dying flower as a loss. It thinks of the flower as part of the quiet rhythm of the earth. The flower fades, its petals fall, it becomes part of the soil. It feeds the new growth. It does not end, it returns to the quiet rhythm. We think of our lives as a short, bright flame. But what if the flame is not separate from the deep, slow breath of the universe? What if the flame is simply a part of the quiet rhythm, a part of the slow, deep breath that has been happening for as long as there has been earth, for as long as there have been stars? We think of death as the end of the flame. But what if the flame does not end, but simply becomes part of the quiet rhythm, part of the slow, deep breath? The quiet space after death is not empty. It is full of the same quiet rhythm, the same slow, deep breath that holds the garden, the forest, the stars. It is not a void, but a space where life and death are held together, not separated. We are not separate from the quiet rhythm. We are part of it. We are part of the slow, deep breath of the earth. We are part of the quiet rhythm of the universe. The question about what comes after is not a question that needs an answer. It is a question that needs to be held gently, like the stone in your hand. It is a question that invites you to listen, to feel, to simply be present with the quiet mystery of existence. It is a question that shows you how life and death are woven together, like the roots of the trees, deep in the soil. It is a question that shows you that the quiet space after death is not empty, but full of the same quiet rhythm that holds all things together. It is a question that invites you to see the world not as a place of separate things, but as a place where all things are held together, not separated. It is a question that invites you to feel the deep calm of the forest, the quiet rhythm of the earth, the slow, deep breath of the universe. It is a question that invites you to simply be, to feel the quiet rhythm within yourself, to feel the slow, deep breath of the earth. It is a question that shows you that you are not alone in the question, that you are part of the quiet rhythm, part of the slow, deep breath that holds all things together. The forest does not ask for an answer to the question. It simply holds the question gently, like the earth holds the seeds in the soil. The garden does not demand an answer to the question. It simply shows you the quiet rhythm, the slow, deep breath of the earth. The stars do not provide an answer to the question. They simply shine, their light traveling for years, their quiet presence holding the vast, dark emptiness. The quiet space after death is not empty. It is full of the same quiet rhythm, the same slow, deep breath that holds the garden, the forest, the stars. It is not a void, but a space where life and death are held together, not separated. The question is not about an ending. It is about a beginning, a different way of seeing the quiet rhythm of the universe. You are not waiting for an answer. You are already part of the answer, part of the slow, deep breath of the earth. You are not separate from the garden, or the forest, or the stars. You are part of the quiet rhythm, part of the slow, deep breath that holds all things together. The question is not a question that divides life from death. It is a question that shows you how they are woven together, like the roots of the trees, deep in the soil. It is a question that invites you to feel the deep calm of the forest, to feel the quiet rhythm of the earth, to feel the slow, deep breath of the universe. It is a question that shows you that you are already home, already part of the quiet rhythm, already breathing with the slow, deep breath of the earth. Sit with the quiet. Feel the cool air on your skin. Hear the slow rhythm of your own breath. The forest breathes. The earth breathes. The stars breathe. You breathe. You are part of the quiet rhythm, part of the slow, deep breath of the earth. The question is not an ending. It is a gentle invitation to feel the quiet rhythm within yourself. It is a gentle invitation to simply be, to feel the deep calm of the forest, the quiet rhythm of the earth, the slow, deep breath of the universe. You are not alone. You are part of the quiet rhythm. You are part of the slow, deep breath. You are home. The stone is cool in your hand. The forest is quiet. The stars are bright. The quiet rhythm holds you gently. Breathe. Simply breathe. Feel the deep calm of the forest settling around you. Feel the quiet rhythm of the earth within you. Feel the slow, deep breath of the universe holding all things together. You are home. You are part of the quiet rhythm. You are part of the slow, deep breath. Rest. Simply rest in the quiet rhythm.